Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder. First of all, I do have to apologize because I actually missed uploading a episode yesterday. Basically, I thought I didn't have plans, but then I ended up having to go out for the day, so I was not able to get that out, but if you didn't see already, I was able to upload the Mega Venusaur team analysis, and a lot of you guys have been curious about that team, so definitely check that out. In addition, as I mentioned last week, since I missed a bunch of episodes while I was at St. Louis Regionals, I'm going to be double uploading, basically, I think, for all of the first 5 days of this week. So Monday through Friday, you can expect 2 episodes of Road to Ranked. I know it's a lot of Pokemon content, but I do want to catch up a bit since I missed a couple of episodes last week, and then, of course, the one yesterday. So hope you guys don't mind. But we're just going to jump into the first episode of today, kicking it with the Mega Metagross team. Been using this team for a while, definitely been a lot of fun. I think Substitute Mega Metagross is a really great set, so credits to all the incredible players in St. Louis who came up with that. As Luvier from Mexico with a rating of 1895 is going to be our first opponent of the day, with a pretty interesting team here of Kangaskhan, Zapdos, Landorus T, Aegislash, Milotic, and Raichu. So the Raichu is definitely the most interesting thing on my opponent's team, just because everything else, is relatively standard. But Raichu in itself, of course, a pretty solid Pokemon in VGC. It's not used too often, but it definitely has its roles on specific teams that really need the Lightning Rod user. And it makes sense here given that my opponent has a Milotic. So I'm going to figure out what I want to lead with. I think Gengar is a pretty safe bet, just because it can't get faked out by Raichu. You can taunt, Icy Wind, Will-O-Wisp, etc. For those of you guys who have been watching, I basically always lead Gengar. Conkeldurr here is actually a very tempting Pokemon to lead with, just because my opponent has no way to hit it for super effective damage, and he can put on offensive pressure right from the start. Gonna want Metagross in the back, given that it's my Mega. And let's see, for the last one, probably going to want to keep Suicune out of this one, given that my opponent has 2 electric types. And I'm actually going to go with Hydreigon, just because I need a way to hit the Aegislash for hard damage. Thundurus is kind of tempting here, but the thing is, you don't want to walk into Raichu's Lightning Rod. I don't have HP Ice on this Thundurus either, so I can't hit the Landorus. Of course, I could choose to Swagger, but I'd rather not. So I'm going to lock in and see how this goes. I do think Conkeldurr is very solid against my opponent's team because, of course, it's got Drain Punch, which can knock out Kangaskhan, Knockoff, which can beat Aegislash, because Aegislash is faster than Conkeldurr, so, if Aegislash chooses to attack, then I can just knock it off and KO it, which was a strategy I actually used a lot with my Hariyama back in VGC 2014. But we're going to see the shiny Raichu and the Zapdos coming out for my opponent here against Conkeldurr and Gengar. Not a terrible lead matchup, just because, like I said, my opponent really has no way to deal with the Conkeldurr effectively. So what I'm actually going to do right away is Sludge Bomb the Raichu and Ice Punch the Zapdos. I'm expecting a Fake Out onto Conkeldurr, as he does go for the Fake Out. Perfectly fine with that. The Sludge Bomb is basically going to put the Raichu in Mach Punch KO range, so I can Mach Punch it next turn. Actually, it ended up being a bit bulkier than I expected, but it is going to switch out here with the eject button, so nice way to get a free switch into whatever my opponent has in the back. I expect maybe Kangaskhan to come out here, but it's actually going to be Landorus. So, shiny Landorus to boot. So that's going to intimidate my Gengar and Conkeldurr. Obviously, Gengar doesn't mind that, but let's see what Zapdos goes for here. Maybe a Discharge? Wow, it is the Discharge. So I don't mind Conkeldurr getting paralyzed, but hopefully Gengar doesn't get paralyzed, as neither of my Pokemon get paralyzed, which is good news for me. Now let's see. I could just go for the Icy Wind and the Ice Punch onto the Landorus. Because if it's Scarf Landorus, my opponent's probably going to Rock Slide. Actually, see, I kind of want to switch Gengar out, but the thing is I don't want to take a Discharge with anything I have in the back, so I'm just going to go for the Icy Wind, and I'm going to Ice Punch the Landorus as well, just because Landorus is a pretty big threat to the Metagross I have in the back. He's going to go straight for the U-turn, though. Okay, good play by him there, but it also reveals to me that it is Choice Scarf, so that's good knowledge, and I'm actually glad he went for the U-turn instead of something like the Rock Slide. Which could have knocked out my Gengar, because now I'm guaranteed an Icy Wind on both the Zapdos and whatever comes in. It is going to be the Raichu here. So that Raichu is going to get knocked out for sure, as long as I connect with my attacks. Icy Wind fortunately does hit both of my opponent's Pokemon, which is obviously good. Going to do a sizable amount of damage actually there to Zapdos, as decreasing both the the speed of those Pokemon as well. He's going to go for another Discharge, activating the Lightning Rod from Raichu, but he's definitely going to knock out this Gengar. But that's fine as long as Ice Punch, as long as I don't get like paralyzed and fully paralyzed in the same turn here, which doesn't happen. Ice Punch here should knock out the Raichu, as it does. So perfect. It's still a scary game, I don't think either of us have that much momentum. But he's definitely got Kangaskhan and Landorus in the back, which is kind of a scary thing to go up against. So, let's see. It's a tough call to make here, because I feel like he would bring in Landorus. If he brings in Landorus and I bring in Metagross, then he can just Earthquake away. Which obviously I don't want to deal with. So I'm going to bring in Hydreigon, because if he does bring in Landorus, which he does, I can kind of bait the superpower into the Hydreigon. So let's see. Now, given that Kangaskhan didn't come in there, I'm guessing Kangaskhan is his last one. I don't know, it's definitely a scary position to be in right now, though, given that Landorus can just outspeed Hydreigon and get a superpower off. Which is the most annoying thing right now. I could just protect an Ice Punch. Which is... Actually, I could protect a Knockoff, though I'm not sure how fast his Landorus is. That would be a cool play, though. Or what I could actually do is switch out into Metagross to bait the, See, here's the biggest issue right now. Like, I just don't have many great switch-ins. Like, Metagross doesn't really want to obviously take a Discharge or a Superpower, and if my opponent has, Kangaskhan as his last one, that's kind of a big deal. Because I'd have to conserve Metagross properly to really beat it accordingly. So you know what? I'm gonna protect with my Hydreigon this turn around and just go for the Ice Punch onto Landorus. We'll see if he goes for the Scarf Superpower, which I would anticipate him doing at this point. Yep, he does Superpower into the Hydreigon, and Zapdos does go for a Discharge. So we'll see how much this Ice Punch does. I don't think it'll knock it out, but hey, if he actually paralyzes me here, which would have been really nice because it would have activated Guts, that would have been cool, but not going to be the case there. So Ice Punch does a decent amount there, but now he can just Superpower and Discharge once again, which is not good for me here. Like, I could switch out into Metagross, but I think I need it. You know what? I'm actually going to go for the double. I don't like going for double protects, but like if I do get it, then it gives me such an advantage. And if I don't, like, it's either I'd either lose Hydreigon because Landorus outspeeds me, or I lose Metagross. And if I lose Metagross, then you know the Kangaskhan I assume he has in the back just beats me. So I hate relying on a double protect, but I'm gonna go for it at this point. I think the sheer speed of my opponent's team is just kind of overwhelming me from the start. So well played there, especially the U-turn coming out earlier on. But I'm gonna go for it. It would be really nice to get this, but I fail it. So he's gonna get that superpower off. Yeah, things aren't looking too hot right now. Crits me there up, but obviously that doesn't matter. I mean, it's still winnable as long as Discharge does not KO me here, but I mean, it's still gonna be a 2-on-1 and then, or a 2-on-2, but Conkeldurr is gonna be heavily damaged. Yeah, I am able to hang on with 10 HP here, and surprisingly that Zapdos has not fully paralyzed me once throughout the course of the game, which is kind of surprising given how often it's been spamming Discharge. But now I'm going to bring in Metagross, and oh, it's going to be Aegislash. Now I'm thinking maybe I should have just... Okay, I can still win here. This is interesting now. Let's see. But Zen Headbutt's not going to KO Zapdos, so I'd have to, like, rely on a flinch, and I don't even know, actually. Seeing Aegislash as the last one, though, kind of frustrates me. I was playing assuming Kangaskhan was the last one, so if I got the double protect, I actually would have been guaranteed the win, almost. So that's frustrating, but obviously, you know, the chances of double protecting aren't very high to begin with, so I would have been lucky enough to get that far, but, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't willing to switch into Metagross here because it would have probably fainted to the Superpower and Discharge combo. And I really was anticipating Kangaskhan being my opponent's last one. So nicely done by him to bait out the Kangaskhan. Or, you know, bluff the Kangaskhan. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to Zen Headbutt Zapdos and knock off the Aegislash. Maybe if I can flinch the Zapdos and put it in Mach Punch K. I don't know. Actually, if I crit the Zapdos here and he decides to target Metagross with like a Shadow Ball, maybe. Oh, but he goes for the King's Shield immediately there with Aegislash. A good play by him there. Basically making it impossible to actually KO the Aegislash. Let's see how much Zen Headbutt does here. Almost knocks it out. Oh, so close. And he's gonna get the Discharge off. So yeah, I was basically, if I got a flinch or a crit there, it could have been possible, but now it's basically gonna be GG. Yeah, there's really not much I can do. I'm gonna protect to maybe I can get him to discharge himself, because I actually don't know what item the Zapdos has. Let's see. No, he goes for the Tailwind though. Yeah, it's gonna be game here. I think my opponent just played it really well. You know, there wasn't really any luck throughout the course of the match, but just the Landers putting on that much offensive pressure from the start was pretty bad, and I didn't have a great way to deal with Landers. You know, Suicune is normally my main way of dealing with it, and in this case, you know, not having, let's see, I guess I'll Iron Head Aegislash in case somehow he's slower than mine. He goes for the Heat Wave. That actually might not KO. But it does, wow, was that a crit? Not even. Single target Heat Wave from Zapdos, able to knock out my Metagross, so very nicely played on my opponent's end there. Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it was just like, I think the team is really well built because he had 2 electric types to threaten out Suicune, which is definitely one of the biggest threats to Landorus T out there. So by me not being able to bring Suicune to Landorus T, was able to put in a lot more work than it normally does, and getting access to Scarf Superpower is scary because otherwise it can't hit Hydreigon for that much damage. So nice game played out by my opponent. I don't think I chose the Pokemon run. I think just seeing the disadvantage I was at given the leads, I could have played a bit more, not aggressively, just I guess predicted a bit better. Just because, you know, when the team matchup isn't in your favor, you kind of need to make big plays. So that was a job well done to my opponent. The Discharge is just really annoying to deal with, but it made a lot of sense given that my opponent had Landorus T and the Raichu on his team. The eject button definitely caught me off guard as well, but that is to be expected. So, and also in retrospect, I guess I could have targeted down Zapdos a bit harder, because, you know, I was attacking around it, wasn't really too worried about it, but I guess getting an Ice Punch off with Conkeldurr somewhere along down the road would have been nice. So this team definitely has its weaknesses as well. I keep on mentioning, like, I'm probably going to replace a couple Pokemon here and there as I use it. You know, the main reason I used the Mega Venusaur team for so long was because at that time, you know, I was just competing in tournaments, and now we kind of have a break because the next tournament's not really until, I mean, there are a couple Premier Challenges, but the next big tournament's Spring Regionals, so I'm probably actually going to be trying out a bunch of cool Megas in the future. And be changing my team around more often than I really previously had, just because now, you know, I can spend more of my time actually building teams rather than practicing or focusing on in real life tournaments, especially now that I have the World's Invitation basically locked up, as Nick from Italy with a rating of 1723 is going to be our second opponent of the day. So I'm going to go into team preview here. Nick's got a team of Heatran, Mega Venusaur, Hydreigon, Zapdos, Lando T, and Sylveon. So immediately, you know, happy to see Mega Venusaur since I used it previously, but Metagross here definitely puts in a lot of work with the ability to, you know, do tons of damage to really his entire team, but especially the Sylveon and the Venusaur. Let's see. I like leading Gengar, as always, just because he has no way to fake out, and I can taunt to stop Tailwinds, etc. So I'm going to go with Gengar. I really want to go with Hydreigon, actually, just because I can Draco Meteor, Lando T, Zapdos, Venusaur, can Earth Power his Heatran, which would be nice. I'm going to go with those two, Metagross on the back, and for the last one, I'm thinking Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr matches up with the Heatran, Hydreigon, Lando T, and Zapdos really well, and the 2 Pokemon that, you know, Conkeldurr loses to, or doesn't like facing against, Sylveon and Venusaur, Metagross checks pretty well. So, looks like once again I'm going to be keeping Thundurus and Suicune out on this one. I don't know, Suicune's just not a great call when your opponent has Zapdos and Mega Venusaur. And Thundurus here, while it's nice, you know, can Thunder Wave things, he's got a Zapdos, which obviously I can't paralyze. Lando T is always kind of scary to deal with, and other than getting paralysis with Thundurus, it can't do very much else. So I'm going to lock in here, and we'll see how it goes. But definitely a pretty cool team on my opponent's end. You know, lots of just big, scary threats. Hydreigon is always a tough one to fight against because you never know what item has. You know, I actually ran Choice Scarf on the Mega Salamence team I used earlier this year, but, you know, I'm running Life Orb on this current one. Specs was the most popular item back in VGC 2014. So it's always tough, and the Hydreigon Mirror Match is very scary to go up against. I think it's actually interesting to see Sylveon in my opponent's team too, just because Sylveon hasn't been nearly as popular as it was in the beginning of VGC 2015. If you look at the statistics from Winter Regionals, it was almost non-existent in the top cut, and that's probably a testament to all the players trying to counter Sylveon so hard, because otherwise it's really annoying to play against. You know, it can just get Hyper Voices off, but we'll see. So I'm going to go with Gengar and Hydreigon, which I feel like gives me a lot of options because I can protect an Icy Wind right from the start, as my opponent's going to go with Heatran and Zapdos. Not bad at all, just because I can immediately taunt Zapdos and Earth Power Heatran, though my opponent's probably smart enough to not... Actually, there's not much reason for Heatran to even stay in here, so I could predict it to switch out. I could also double into Zapdos with a Sludge Bomb Draco Meteor, which I kind of want to do. Let's see. I think taunting Zapdos is a better play though, just to prevent it from getting really anything off. I'm just going to taunt and Dark Pulse it. Highly unlikely Heatran does anything here, but it actually stays in and goes for attack, so good prediction on my opponent's end here. He probably doubled into Gengar, but I'm fine, it's because I get the taunt off and I get the Dark Pulse off, which puts it in KO range, as it does proc the Citrus Berry. But a nice play by my opponent, just staying in with Heatran, going all in with it. As, oh, Zapdos goes for the Hidden Power Ice onto Hydreigon. Okay. What does Heatran go for? A Heat Wave? Yeah. Gengar actually avoids it, which is slightly unfortunate for my opponent. And Heat Wave's not going to knock out Hydreigon here. Hopefully no burn? Yeah. So a very interesting play by my opponent to just attack outright with that Heatran. Definitely wasn't anticipating that, but a good play at that as well. Let's see. Now I'm expecting the Heatran to protect. So I'm going to Icy Wind in case he wants to switch out, and I'm going to Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse Icy Wind should knock out the Zapdos. But this Heatran is just not protecting, wow. Or switching out at that matter. So I'm going to knock out Zapdos here, but Heatran's going to be able to take out my Hydreigon with another Heat Wave most likely. So, yeah, I mean, I could have Earth Powered that slot this turn because I knew, but I was afraid of the Protect HP Ice into Hydreigon, which obviously made the most sense to me as a play. But very nicely done so far by my opponent, just predicting me to not target it either time. So maybe he doesn't expect me to have the Earth Power, but it is pretty weird to see a Heatran just attack against a Hydreigon, but well done to my opponent so far. So, let's see. I'm going to bring in Conkeldurr because obviously that threatens Heatran a good amount. Once I knock out Heatran, Metagross is pretty set, so let's see. Hydreigon's going to come in here for my opponent, which I don't mind seeing one bit. I'm going to Icy Wind here and just go for the Drain Punch onto Heatran. I don't think Draco and Heat Wave should KO Conkeldurr given that I'm Assault Vest. If it does, then I'm going to have to rework some EV spreads here. But let's see. Yeah, look at Conkeldurr taking that like a champ. As I'm going to get the Icy Wind off, which is good, because it actually, you know, is a sizable amount of damage there to Hydreigon. In retrospect, I actually think Sludge Bomb might have been a better play, since it's not like Conkeldurr really needs the speed decreases because it's already slow enough. So he's going to go for a Heat Wave. Gengar and Conkeldurr avoiding it. That is very, very unlucky for my opponent. I wouldn't have minded him hitting it because it would have meant a free switch into a Mega Metagross, but this just made things a lot easier for me to play with. So, yeah, definitely unfortunate for my opponent there. Now let's see. Given that Heatran's not a threat, I'm just going to Sludge Bomb the Hydreigon, and I'll Mach Punch the Heatran, because Hydreigon's probably going to want to switch out here. Oh, Heatran finally reveals the Protect, so, you know, I was wondering whether he even had it or not, since he was just launching Heat Waves here and there. Almost doubled up into Hydreigon there, but I knew it's already at -2 special attack, so I'm not very worried about what it can do. As he goes for a Draco Meteor onto Gengar. The fact he went for Draco and not something like Dark Pulse makes me question what item he has. Didn't look like specs based off how little damage he did to Conkeldurr, though Conkeldurr is really specially defensive. So yeah, I mean, the Heat Wave double miss was unfortunate. Like, Conkeldurr didn't, it missing Conkeldurr didn't really matter, but he would have obviously been able to knock out the Gengar, but then all I had to do was Mega Evolve, Protect Metagross, and yeah, I mean, I don't think it was kind of a big deal. It wasn't a very big deal, but now I can just Mega Evolve, Iron Head, Hydreigon, and Mach Punch the Heatran, and Metagross basically beats anything that threatens this Conkeldurr. So we're probably going to see Mega Venusaur switch in here, but it's actually going to be Landorus. Not what I was anticipating, but I don't mind that. Though if it's Scarf Landorus, it does make things a bit more interesting. Just because, you know, obviously my opponent can just spam Earthquake. So I'm going to Mega Evolve here with Metagross, and I am going to get a free Iron Head off, and because, of course, of the Clear Body, I was not affected by the Intimidate. But Mach Punch here is going to knock out the Heatran, which is obviously good. And this Landorus is going to take an Iron Head, but the game is still definitely not over. As let's see how much it does to Landorus. Probably around 60 to 70%. Yep, around 60. So obviously Hydreigon's going to come back in here. And let's see. I think my best play here is actually to Protect. And let's see. So the question is, I don't know who is if either of his Pokemon are scarfed. I would guess Landorus is scarfed. So no, I'm just gonna protect and Ice Punch the Lando. Because Conkeldurr should be able to survive this turn regardless of an Earthquake, Draco Meteor. Oh, but he goes for the Dark Pulse, indicating to me that the Hydreigon was scarfed, which made sense because I figured it was choice given that it went for the Draco onto the Gengar. So he's going to get an Earthquake off, but Conkeldurr is going to be able to eat that, and I'm going to get a nice punch to knock out the Landorus, and all I have to do is Mach Punch the Hydreigon the following turn. So, going to be able to end up winning this game. Obviously, my opponent got somewhat unlucky after missing 3 Heat Waves, actually, so, you know, RNG was definitely on my side here, and I feel like he was playing better than me, given the first couple of turns he just left a Heatran out against a Hydreigon, which, you know, for me was kind of frustrating, because I felt like had I just Earth Powered, I could have capitalized so much earlier on. So what I could have done, for example, was Earth Power Heatran turn 1 and taunt the Zapdos, and if Heatran, you know, didn't protect, then I would just knock it out. If it switched out, you know, Zapdos would be taunted, and if it did protect, I could just Earth Power the following turn. So, in retrospect, I could have played a bit better. You know, I was fishing for the protect, and my opponent never actually went for it when I had Hydreigon out. So, 2 interesting games today. First game, yeah, really my opponent just had a better team kind of matchup, and he played better than me for sure as well. Good management there. And the second one, also an interesting game, but Conkeldurr really the MVP of that one, being able to take attacks and just dish out massive amounts of damage to everything. So, shorter episode for you guys today, but of course I will be uploading another one right after this one, so keep your eyes open for that, because there should be another episode of Road to Rank today. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you later today. Alright, peace.